Freedom fighters, I'm coming back at you with another Manic Monday. And, we're going to talk about a lot today, but, we're wrapping up Pride Month. We've made it through another one. And from what I've been hearing, we're winning. We're winning the culture war. All the companies have caved. They go woke and they go broke. Am I right? Target, Walmart, all the stuff. I was watching this one video where a couple of the video game companies stopped putting out their woke, rainbow colored logos and all that stuff. I think it was Tom Clancy, something like that. They all flipped script. Like I said, we won. If you can't, I mean, you can't see the air quotes, but if you can't sense the sarcasm, I did a video on this before called The Winning Right. We haven't won anything. And if you're in that camp where you thought we won and these companies have actually caved, you're still asleep. But the pendulum always swings, and it always goes back and forth. But all this is part of the theater. And they want to make you think that you won, like you're making headway. Meanwhile, they're just lying in wait. And once Democrats take control again, once all this stuff, Republicans are losing the midterms. I'll probably get into that later, but I think I've already discussed that, but I'll probably talk about it again. But, when Democrats are in control again, all these companies are going to come back with their rainbow logos and, pride promo codes, and the LGBTQ stuff's coming up. Was it like last year, the year before when Biden was in office and all that, where Target had the tucking bathing suit line and all that stuff? Well, none of that stuff's there anymore because, the shift of administrations or whatnot. But again, like I said, they're just lying in wait. And, we just talked about Zohran Mamdani winning in New York and his treasonous policies, and, a foreign-born communist who was just, here, 6 years ago, or I can't remember if he was just naturalized. He just got his citizenship 6 years ago. Is going to be making, these policies that, it won't be for your rights. He always, they always sell it as it's for the people. The communism is for the people. But it's going to be, taking your rights, and the police will be enforcing it, right? Yeah, he'll make you. It'll seem all good when he's giving you whatever he's promising, a $30 minimum wage with free health care and free grocery stores and whatever it is. But you're going to be a slave. You're not going to have free speech. You're not going to have you're for sure as hell not going to have your Second Amendment. And again, these cops will be enforcing the rules. So I mean, get that. You have a 6-year citizen ruling the country's largest city, and he's going to be telling you don't have your constitutional rights, and the police are going to be enforcing it, as they already do, right? It's not going to take Zohran to do it. They already do that. But Charlie Kirk, again, he's been putting out videos talking about all this stuff. And he actually had a really good point in one video I watched the other day, which I'm going to use his analogy. My last video was Civil War is inevitable. And he used a good analogy that I've used before, but he said it a lot better than I did. He wasn't actually talking about Civil War, but you know how he does these man on the street videos, like the change my mind videos or whatnot. But anyway, he had this college student come up and ask a question, and he was like, oh man, I'm dating my girlfriend. I'm, going back and forth debating about, taking the next step, but she's a leftist, and she doesn't share my values. And Charlie Kirk said, no, like you cannot marry this woman. And he kind of looked, like, uh-oh, and the crowd kind of gasped, like, like what? But he said, there's macro and micro levels. And what I've always said, like, I've likened a civil war to a divorce, because that's what it is. I mean, it's a separation of, in the lower level, it's just the man and the woman separating no longer together. And a country does it. It's different political factions saying we can no longer, we have irreconcilable differences that we have to separate because we can't coexist. And he was talking about the macro and micro levels, and he's like, in a relationship you have to agree on the macro, the family structure, the, call it what you want, the patriarchy, which I've said before in my recent Father's Day video. You cannot be a man in the West. But if your wife doesn't agree, you are the head of the household. The man is running the show. Except for you never really can in the West. That was the whole point of that video. She can always take you to court or use the state against you at any time she well pleases. Religion, you have to share those core values, how you're going to raise your children, whether or not they're going to be, homeschooled or whatnot. But, on those core issues, again, the macro, who's leading the family? How are you going to raise the children? What kind of schools, what kind of values are you going to instill on them? Stuff like that. Everyone's going to fight, right? You can have little micro fights. And what I've always said about Civil War, you don't just go to Civil War over, like, oh, well, we want to pave the roads and we're going to use these funds to do it. And, who cares? But, you know, it's like you're not going to divorce your wife or your husband over, oh, well, I want pizza for dinner. And they're like, no, I want a cheeseburger, right? It's on big issues. And that's what I'm saying. When you have people like Zoran Mamdani winning elections and saying that he has a sanctuary city, and all these treasonous mayors that do this, sanctuary cities that allow illegals and harbor criminals in their districts but arrest citizens for having firearms on them, for whatever. Oh, no, you have an extended magazine. Oh, no, you don't have a permit. You don't have this. You don't have that. They're all infringements. And everyone's saying, again, I've been hearing this, oh, we're winning, and, they went woke and they went broke. No, they didn't. They're still around, and they're just bluffing. They're hiding their true intentions until they get back in control, which they will be getting back in control. And people are talking about, oh, Gen Z's so based and all this. They're not. I don't know where everyone's getting this stuff from. I've talked about it multiple times, but, it's like I saw a poll like 25% identify as bi. And I mean, basically, if you say you're bi, you're gay, right? If there's another person who's like, oh yeah, like I could be with the same gender, you're gay. I don't know, with the whole bi thing doesn't make sense to me. But another video I was watching recently of a like a coin show guy that I actually went to visit him in my trip in Florida. The coin guy, I think this was his video. I don't know, but I've heard many people say it. He goes, the younger people are coming in, and the conversation surrounded about a CBDC and a social credit score and, digital currency. And he goes, the younger generation never pays in cash. He's like, if anyone like under 20 comes through the door, he's like, it's almost like a 99% guarantee that, they're paying, on their phones or something, a digital whatever, wallets, Apple Pays, whatever. And then if not, they have a credit card, but they never pay cash. And I mean, I'm seeing this, in my own, day-to-day life, with, doing odd jobs and stuff. You cut someone's grass, you shovel a driveway, you do some landscaping, you do some work for somebody. Nobody ever pays cash anymore. That's already almost, put out of society. But it's the woke generation, man, it's not leaving. And the political sphere is basically what I was saying. It's eventually going to lead to a civil war. And, everything's become political now. I saw a podcast recently. It was like Andrew Schultz and maybe Dave Smith was on that. I can't even remember. And then they were talking about this new guy, but he was like, man, this guy used to do workout videos and stuff, and he never said anything about politics. And then they were like, and now he's out there, doing all these political videos and stuff like that. And it just goes, everyone has have you noticed all the stand-up comedians, like, have become political podcasters? And like all the cartoons, all the late night shows, everything has become political. The musicians, the actors, every normie commentator out there, like one of the first guys on YouTube, what was his name? Franco or something. I mean, I haven't seen him forever, but he used to just do goofy YouTube videos. And then I saw yesterday he's like some big, like, I don't even know if you call him a leftist or what. I don't watch his content. I haven't seen him in years. But I was like, man, this guy's still going. And, guess what he's doing? Politics. And I did a video a while back called This Is Why I Don't Like Political Comedy. Because everybody, the space has become, because that's all that's left. Right? Like, when you're in the culture war and essentially in the civil war, that's all everybody can talk about. And I think I talked about in one of my past couple videos how this guy I used to watch play video games. He was a gamer, Asmongold. And recently his clips started popping up and I saw him do a video on like gun control or something like that. And I was like, oh man, that's cool. Asmon is pro-gun or whatever. I'm like, well, yeah, he's a Texan, so, that makes sense. And then I saw a video pop up where he was talking about illegal immigration, and I think that was the video where he was talking about Laura Ingraham and Tommy Lurin. I was covering that video where they were saying, like, where are all the good men at? And, they're staying home and playing video games, and he popped up on that one, and it's like now all the gamers are doing political channels. And everyone's doing political channels. But it's like, that's just where we're at. And what else we got to cover today, man? The big, beautiful bill is, looking like it's going to pass, man. It's unbelievable. People still fell for it. I mean, if you're wearing, how many badges of I Fell For It Again awards did you get? You're not going to vote your way out of it. I don't know how many times I have to say it. I don't know if you haven't realized it yet. And I'm really just sick and tired of debating people about it. And I saw people on there, the other night, and they're like, oh man, well, we get this and we get that one good thing. And then they took away the 2A protections. So no more suppressors and short barrel rifles. But anyway, it was like you weren't getting them anyway. All they did was remove the tax, but you still are on the registry. You still have to ask permission, get approved, and get put on, a registry and file your file. Is it a 1 or a 3? No, I don't even know. But you're still asking permission. You're getting put on a list, and the tax is the least of the thing. Everyone's like, oh, that's unconstitutional. I mean, it is. But the most unconstitutional part about it is the list, is the registry. And whenever a politician, whether it be your mayor, your governor, someone on your local county board, or the president of the United States says, oh no, like you can do this or you can do that, you never had that right to begin with. If you're waiting for someone to give you permission, then it's not a right. And again, people are like, oh yeah, Trump is trying to, fight for the Second Amendment. He could, with a stroke of a pen, he always talks about, the power of the presidency and the executive orders. He could just demolish the ATF. I've talked about it multiple times. Isn't, Cash running that organization now? He could just say, we're doing away with this organization. And any officer who enforces these infringements is guilty of treason and violating these people's civil rights. And we're going to hold them accountable and, throw them in prison. And anyone who's getting these rights violated, anyone who's trying to violate your rights, you can open fire upon. I mean, you wouldn't think it twice. I think I've talked about it before. If the Red Dawn, if the Chinese were paratrooping through the sky, you wouldn't be like, oh, I wonder if I can, open fire. I wonder if there's going to be a court case later, or, if people are going to look at this. You wouldn't even think about it. You would body those people flying through the air, paratrooping down. And for some reason, when the badges and uniforms violate our civil rights in this country, we just sit around and look towards our politicians to make it right. And they know if you take action, you're the one to blame, and they're going to be throwing you in prison. Anyway, man, that's what we got today for this crazy Monday, man. Let me know what you think about it. Till the next one, man, you know what it is. We are on our own. Nobody's coming to save us, so get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom fighters out.